Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool radio repair video for you this evening. Now, this is an amateur radio repair. I do not know what I'm doing, so keep that in mind as we go through. I'm trying to get this thing to work. This is an old, I don't even know when the thing was made. I would guess early 50s. I guess maybe I should look that up, huh? It's a model 475. I wonder if that means it was made in 1947. I don't know. It looks a little newer than that to me. But so I've been messing around with this General Electric model 475 AM radio. And I don't really know what I'm doing. So it's amateur repair time. So on the previous video, I took the chassis out. I'm operating on a theory here, or on, not a theory, on a premise here. A lot of people repair these, and the first thing they do is they put a cap kit in it, and then they fix whatever's not working. I'm trying to do it the other way. I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with it, and then once I get it playing badly, put a cap kit in it, and then I can hear what each cap does. I'm trying to learn by working on this thing. So on the previous video, I took the chassis out. I cut the across the line capacitor out of it just in case, just so that won't explode on us or anything. That one can get kind of dangerous from what I understand. And then I checked all the other caps just to see if any of them were dead shorts. Now they're probably all leaking and messed up and they all need to be replaced, but I'm trying to get it limping along, and then I want to replace them one at a time so I can see what changes as we do that, right? That may or may not prove effective, but we'll see. Whenever people just blindly put cap kits in them, I've got a lot of history repairing arcade game monitors. And I learned after several years that people think a cap kit will fix a non-working monitor, and that's not usually true. Usually there's something else going on, so you kind of need to know how the thing works. And then, yeah, you replace the caps so that you get a nice, reliable monitor, you know, and it'll do things like clear up geometry issues and stuff like that. But in general, it doesn't usually fix something unless the filter caps or the, capacitors in the high voltage are just so screwed up that it's got everything messed up. So I assume that the radios are kind of similar to that too. So I took that cap out. There was another, and then I checked all the caps, just looking to see if any of them had shorts. Nothing was really shorted. I did find one, this capacitor, which one was it? This capacitor right here, C10. That only measured like 15 ohms. Now, I know that's not how you test a capacitor, but again, I'm just looking for ones that are, like a paper cap that's shorted or something that's going to cause serious problems if you power it up that way. So I couldn't find any. This one tested where it had about 15 ohms, but it's because it appears to be because it's connected to this M4 here, which is actually a potentiometer. It looks like it's some kind of sliding switch or something, but it's not. So I don't know. These may be the wrong schematics or something, or maybe there were a couple versions of the same radio. So I replaced that one cap after I cut it out because it didn't fix my short that I measured on the cap. So I put in a new one. So we've got one new cap in the radio. Everything seemed all right. I powered it up on a Variac. It came up and just got the typical humming. There's no front end at all. However, while we were doing that, I ran into this problem with the antenna. Now, I believe L1 to be the antenna, but I don't have the other page of this schematic where they give you the legend. So I'm not really sure what L1 is, but I think L1, that looks to me like the antenna, and it kind of seems that way. The antenna on this one, someone has disconnected, cut wires, done all kinds of crap, and I'm measuring a dead short across the antenna whenever one of the wires is one end is disconnected. So it's like it's all shorted together. Now it is just a coil of wire around a ferrite core, so it is connected from one end to the other, but I don't think it should be a dead short. So I think that may have something to do with why I'm not getting any kind of front end reception. I think that antenna something's wrong with it, or it's wired up wrong or something. So let me pop the chassis back out of this case. The leads to the speakers are really short, where you can't work on it outside of the case. So I'm just going to get some jumper wires and some little alligator clips and run it to the speaker whenever we get ready to power it back up. But we need to figure out that antenna thing first. So let me pop it back out and we'll check that. So here's the antenna mounted on the back of this thing. And it's got a local and a distance switch. I kind of want to figure out what that is. I believe it may be that switch. Right, so I need to figure that out, but let me show you how the antenna is hooked up at the moment. All right, so we have 4 wires. One is down here, and then it runs all the way down this, and it's this wire here. This is running from this end. I think, right? This was disconnected when I got the thing. The radio it's got a couple things where people have obviously been working on it, but all the caps were original. Everything underneath looked pretty original. This was disconnected, but it looked like it was just broke off. So I cleaned it up and put it back. Okay. Now, before I did that though, I measured from here to here, which appears to be the other end of the antenna, and it was a direct short. I would think that you can't really measure impedance with a multimeter, but I was expecting you'd get 4 or 5 ohms resistance. I've got another radio with a loop antenna on it, and I think it's like 4 or 5 ohms. So I thought maybe I'd get something similar. I don't. It's like it's a dead short. So I think we need to look at that bar and see what's going on. So the other end is this connection here. Not that one. This one appears to be this connection. Which isn't even hooked to anything. And then we've got this connection, don't know what it is, that they've got running to here on the condenser here. And then this one, or this red one, look at this crap. It's going to the chassis. Attaches to that, which is attached to this cover here. So anyway, I think that's all screwed up. So I'm going to go ahead and take that cover off and be very careful and try not to break the rod and all of that. And then maybe we can get a better idea of how the thing is supposed to hook up once I can actually see it. Okay, so this cover came off pretty easy. So the wire that is here, it needs to be cleaned up, but ultimately it is connected to the frame. Okay, that makes sense to me, and I think I see our problem. This end does appear to be connected here. Boy, I'm going to win a cinematography award for this. Ooh, wait a minute. Is it not connected? I don't know if that's the proper place to connect it. We're going to end up pulling this whole thing off, but So is this pin connected to that pin? Focus. So you can see the wire clear as day connected to here, but does that connect to there? So we'll figure that out. And then on this end, you can see the wire connected to there, which is this wire. That is not connected to anything right now. So that would be our problem. That would connect to the other part, you would think, unless if that is connected to that, then it's, what in the hell? So yeah, so we got some issues. So I'm gonna check this with a multimeter and see if these two are connected and if those two are connected and what the deal is. All right, so I was able to pull it loose. Now remember, I'm an amateur. I haven't messed with this stuff. This little clip, that is connected to that. So it's just made like that. This little ring is holding it in place. Okay, so this wire, whether it's connected there or there, doesn't matter. It's the same connection. And then, of course, you got the wire. Down on this end, it's a little loose. It must have broke at some point and they soldered it back or something. But same story down here. This connection is the same as this connection. So this wire is not actually hooked to anything. It may have been for like an external wire or something. But this wire is. And it is the one that's running down here to the set screw, basically. I think that's the stator. And this is the frame, which is running to the other end. So I'm getting 0.8 ohms resistance on this. That just seems really low to me. So, but it's not a dead short. So, but that's pretty close to a dead short. So that kind of looks like that's correct. I mean, maybe there is only less than 1 ohm resistance in that wire. It's not really all that, you know, it's probably, how many turns is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20, 30, 40. It's maybe 150 turns. And, you know, each turn is maybe 1.5 inches. So it's like a 10 or 12 foot wire. And I'm thinking there's 1 ohm resistance. I don't, that could be about right. So maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree. So if that's not the problem, why we don't have anything on our front end, maybe we should look elsewhere. What do you think? I mean, we don't get nothing. We just get no kind of change whenever you try to tune something in. So maybe we have a resistor burn up, or maybe we have a tube loose in its socket or a bad tube. Right? So I believe this is the CONV, I believe means converter. Maybe. And this is our first IF amp transformer, our second IF amp transformer, and an IF amp tube. And then the detector, the auto volume control, and the AF amp tube, and then our output tube. I mean, you know, if we're getting amplification, really all that tells us is that the speaker's good, the output transformer's probably good, and the output tube is probably good. So all of this could have problems. the volume control works. What does that tell us? Does that tell us that our AF amp is probably working? So I think maybe what we do is I put the antenna back and then we turn it on and we wiggle some tubes. I don't know, maybe I should check some. Let me run through some of these resistors while it's off and just check and see if any of these resistors seem way out of spec. And I'll focus on the ones here. There's one there. And there's one there. Yeah, I'll just focus on some of this stuff. It could be too that something like C7's open. If you look, wouldn't that get rid of, that would kill the whole front end, wouldn't it? So it could ultimately end up being something that a cap kit will fix, but I'd just like to learn something about it before I just shotgun everything, you know? All right, so let me check some resistors. If I find anything interesting, I'll let you know. Okay, so again, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm trying to go through and check these resistors. This is kind of right, but it's a little different. So for instance, you've got this switch here, which I think has something to do with the distance or local thing. I may be wrong about that. It kind of almost looks like it would be a tone switch. I don't know. Because it, you know, I don't know. But anyway, this switch, if that is that switch, there is a resistor coming off of it that is green, green, brown. I believe that to be green, green, brown. Is that green, green, brown? So if that's green, green, brown, that would be 550, and I'm measuring like 1.5 meg ohms. So if all the audio were to run through that, I mean that, or if all the signal were to run through that, it would mess it up. But I don't know about that. And then some of this other stuff isn't lining up with what I've got on these schematics. It's similar. Like, I've got this, but I don't think it connects to there. So I don't know, something. All right, so I think I'm going to clip that resistor out, or one end of it out, and just confirm that it's not measuring 550 ohms. Okay, yeah, so I confirmed. I desoldered one side. It says 550 ohm. Best I can tell, that's what that color code is. Come on, people. Green, green, brown, come on now. That's 550 ohm, any way you look at it. And it's measuring 1.5 meg. Okay? So I'm looking, going, where the hell is there a 550 ohm resistor? You know, and I see this one as a 55 ohm resistor, but it's nothing like that. So then I finally started thinking about it. Now, y'all may have figured this out on video 1, but like I said, I'm a new one. I got the 475 from, I think I've got this right. I got the 475 from the eBay ad where I bought this radio a year ago. It's been sitting around. As you can tell, I've got a lot of radios. I'm trying to fix one of them so I can hear something. That's where I got that number from. Now, looking at the pictures on Radio Museum, it appears right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Come on, people. It's not a 4. People, it can't be. Come on, people. It must not be a 475. Look at it. It's got. Do you see what I'm saying? There's 5 and it's got 6. There's an extra one somewhere. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These ain't the right schematics. What are they doing to me at the radiomuseum.org? What are they doing? But, you know, General Electric, that wasn't a big company or anything. I'm sure it'll be real easy to find which one this actually is. All right, so that's no big deal. I mean, all I got to do is just go look at the General Electric models. Radio catalog for the radio manufacturer, General Electric Company, GE. So there's probably just a few, and then I'll look at the ones that are, like, I'll look at the pictures and then match it to that. So there are, okay, apparently they made 2,842 different models of General Electric. All right, now we're getting somewhere. So I went and I looked, and the picture did look like a 475, but it has 6 tubes. So I went and just looked at the list by number on the Radio Museum, and it looks like one was made that same year or the next year. There was a model 480 that had 6 tubes. Looking at the picture of the 480, it looks just like mine. So I think whoever listed it on eBay just made that mistake. And this schematic seems to match what I've got. So it's fixed a couple of my problems that I couldn't figure out. Like, for instance, that distance switch is labeled. And my phono and radio control is labeled. So this is all different than the way that it was in the other schematics. They were very similar, but there was pieces missing, okay? And then if you look at the radio thing, there is, in fact, supposed to be a 1.5 meg resistor. So my green crap, apparently I read something wrong. I think where I messed up was it was it had a brown stripe at the other end. I was reading it backwards. So it wasn't green, brown. I thought the brown was blending in with the body color of the resistor. It wasn't. If you look real close, there's a brown stripe right on the end. So that's the 1. And then the green is the 5. And then the 5 after that would be, let me think, to the 5th decimal point, basically. So it would be 1, how would we do that math? I can do it with a piece of paper pretty easy, but so if there's a 1, then it would be 150. If there's a 2, it would be 1,500. If there's a 3, it would be 15,000, which would be 15K. And if there was so if there was a green stripe, it is a 1.5 meg. I was just reading it completely backwards. So yeah, I got to solder that back in. Thankfully, I didn't clip it all the way off. I just unhooked it. So I put that back. There was absolutely nothing wrong with that. So obviously, this is amateur repair time, people. On amateur repair time, we make lots of mistakes because we're amateurs. We don't know what the hell we're doing, all right? But I'm learning. So now I know. If you buy a radio, make sure it's the right one. And one of the easy ways to do that is to count the freaking tubes. All right. So now we're a little back on track. But you know what? Look at this. Here is my antenna. And would you look at that? It now has an extra wire drawn in that connects to the B minus. B minus. And the chassis and the B minus are connected by a capacitor. Okay. So yeah, with that extra wire drawn in, that does look remarkably similar to my antenna hookup. So we'll go from there. So I think basically I just need to, like I said, keep checking resistors, and now everything should line up a little better. I'll print this out, and I'll see if I can find anything with it turned off, and if not, I guess we could pull tubes and start checking tubes. Okay, so with the new schematic, I've been hard at work. Look at my little jumpers I had to make for the speaker. Can you believe that? You'd think I'd have somewhere some alligator clips, but I do not at this location. So I need to get some little test clips. Okay, so I went through and I started checking all of the resistors, and most of them are correct. There's a few that are out of spec. Like, for instance, this one's 100 ohm. It's 119 ohm. That's a little high. They're all like a little off, you know, 5% or so. Okay, but so I checked them all, and I'm checking them in circuit. So they could be, if you check them in circuit, usually it's not going to make them too high. It might make them too low. But, I mean, things can happen. If they're right next to a capacitor, I've had that happen where it checks like it just checks like it's screwed up, but then whenever you take it out, it's fine. Because basically your meter is trying to charge the capacitor. Okay, so this one here on the IF amp tube to ground, pin 7 there, is 182 ohms. It's supposed to be 120. Again, that's high, and it should be replaced, but it's not. It shouldn't shut the whole thing down. All right, and then this big 2-watt 1K resistor is at 1.4K. So that's pretty off, but not the end of the world. But here's what happened. All of those checked out pretty decent, and like I said, I checked the caps. I put a little check mark by the one cap that I had to replace last time because I cut the old one out. So none of the caps test shorted, and again, that's not the right way to test them, but I'm just trying to make sure it's hopefully not going to blow up on me. So then I started checking voltages. So I hooked it up to my Variac here. The main reason I'm using that, we already used it before just to make sure that everything was cool. The main reason I'm using it now is because it has a fuse in it, and I don't have a amp meter hooked up to it, but we got a fuse in it. So I got that dialed up to 112 volts. That's about right, isn't it? But here's the thing. It comes up and it hums, but on the other side of this rectifier, it's only 94 volts. It's supposed to be 125. And then it goes through this resistor, and now it's down to 86 volts, which sounds about right. That could be, I think, this cap going south on us could be drawing the voltage down. But tell me about this. You people that know what you're doing, tell me about this. This is a number 44 bulb. That's the same bulb that's in a pinball machine, so I know that's a 6.3 volt bulb. And if you look, again, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a novice. The two, basically that voltage there is coming off of this tube. It's a separate tap. And we're at 2.7. So surely that thing's supposed to be putting out 5 or 6, I would think. That's suspiciously, I mean, that kind of looks like half to me. So I'm thinking maybe we got a problem with our rectifier tube. So maybe it could be this cap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test the rectifier tube and swap another one in. And if I get similar results there, then I'm going to go ahead and replace that cap. I mean, I got to replace them anyway, but like I said, I'm trying to learn, right? So hopefully this will help me figure it out. So next up, we got to test the tube. All right, I've got a few tube testers. I think I've got 4 or 5 of them actually. But the first one is a ICO 625. I got this from a gentleman who passed away about a year and a half ago. His name was Bob, and he was all into ham and tube radios and stuff like that. And so I got a whole bunch of equipment from his son after he passed away. And I've never tested some of this stuff, so I'm going through it now and checking it out. So I set up the line adjustment here. And then this is a 35W4. So I set the shunt on 20 and the filament on 32. Shunt on 20. Filament is on 32. Selector 3. Five is up. And 4, 6, and 7 are down. 4 and 6 have a line under them. So we are getting a little bit of glow. So it's at least lighting it up. But I don't know what you hit to test it. On my other one, you hit a button to test it. I mean, we got this one. What do you think? Short merit, it says. Oh, yeah. Okay, there we go. So, yeah, it tests fine. But I cheated. I Googled it, and I found a bunch of people saying that these 35W4s are suspect, and that they've had several of them that test perfectly fine, but you put it in and you get a low output voltage. So I'm going to try swapping in another one. But it looks like if Mr. Bob's old school ICO 625 works, it's telling me that thing's strong. Of course, it's just a rectifier tube, so you wouldn't think that it would. Well, I don't know. I guess they get weak, right? Of course, it could have just been dirty in the socket, too. All right, so let me try swapping another one in. I'll test another one, and we'll try swapping it in and see if we get any different voltages. All right, so I've got a new 35W4. And either it's also very good, or this meter says everything's very good. All right, fired it up, checked the voltages real quick. Same exact voltages, or very close. So it's not that tube. So it could just be the electrolytic cap. It doesn't test shorted, but if it's really leaky, I guess it could be pulling this down. So that's supposed to be 125. That maybe over here would be 118 or something like that. I don't know. And if that cap is messed up, it would make that closer to ground, right? Which would be more like 86. So I'm going to pull the other 4 tubes. Another 5 tubes, and just test them on the thing, just in the off chance that I've got a maybe I've got a tube somewhere that's causing all kinds of problems. But since I'm not even getting the voltage out of here that I'm supposed to, and I've still got the deal with the only 2.7 where I should have about 6, something is really pulling this thing down, and it's probably that. But it could be, I don't know. It could be something like, and again, I have no clue what I'm doing, but it could be something like this tube, instead of using its 12 volts that it's supposed to use, it's using 40 volts or something, or 50 volts. And it's pulling all of the other tubes' supply down or something. Okay? So I'm going to test the rest of them and see if I can find anything that jumps out at me. But it's about time to order some caps and resistors. And maybe 2. We'll figure it out, folks. Don't worry about it. We're going to get it. Okay, folks. So I started testing the tubes. I've got a bunch of tubes. I've got tons of them, but that doesn't mean they're any good, right? So I tested this one. It's decent. Tested this one, not good. Tested this one, pretty weak. This is the same one, pretty weak. So the RF amp and the IF amp, both pretty weak. So I swapped them with ones that I had that were marginally better. I mean, I've got a whole ton of tubes. I mean, I've probably got 2,000 tubes, but most of them are stuff that you can't even use, or they're for TVs, and I don't know anything about TV repair. Tube TV repair. And then this 12BE6 also tested weak as hell. So, it kind of makes me question the tester. It was testing this rectifier tube and giving us strong results on that. And it gave us pretty strong results on two of the tests on the triode. So two of the things seem to be testing all right. So I don't know. But I think it's completely believable, too, that I got a bunch of worn out tubes, and a lot of these other ones, like I've got some in boxes, but they've got labels people have written on them, and they're not new old stock. It's just stuff that somebody saved. I do have some new old stock ones, but like this one was a 12BA6. So, somebody saved that one because it tested good 40 years ago, and now here I am trying to test it. So we replaced that one. I replaced that one, and I replaced that one. And I replaced that one. So I've replaced 1, 2, 3. I replaced the 4 tubes of the front end. So let's see what we got. Now, I don't want to leave it on too long because, Big Papa there might decide to explode on us or something. It's on, but that bulb is so dim. So I think it's still got the voltage problem. Are we dead? Oh no, here we go. Boy, she's humming. Let's see if we can get anything. Yeah, it's changing now. You hear that? I hear oscillation. A little bit. There's something going on.
Strangers. Someone sent me a reel from Instagram, I believe it was, and in the reel,
I got a working radio now.
Maybe in his 40s, was telling a story about.
Okay, so I need to order caps and stuff, and I guess I'll order some tubes. Let me try to get some decent tubes in here. So I need some 12BA6s, some 12BE6s. Some 12AV6s, some 35C5s, and some 35W4s. I guess I've got a ton of these. And I had some of these too, but since it was actually testing that it was fine, it just wasn't great. Wow, that's pretty cool. So I guess bad tubes. I would not have thought that. I would have thought that we had an open cap somewhere or something. And it could have just been that the tubes weren't in the sockets very well. I wiggled them a little bit before we started messing with it, but. All right, folks, so we got the thing to at least pick up a radio station. So I'll call that done. You know, there's accidental amateur repair, and then there's servicing it. That's a whole other story. So we'll do that in the next video, right? So I think we repaired it by accidentally finding a tube that was bad. By the way, I used another tube tester, and this 12BA6 is dead, and more dead. Gets filament voltage running through it. So the filament's not open, but the output is just gone. So one of these 12BA6s was probably the problem. Probably the problem. That's a new Roger Millerism I got to remember. Probably a problem. Okay, so it was either the IF amp or the RF amp. One of these two. If I was going to guess, and I don't know what I'm doing, it kind of looks like the volume control might be dependent upon the, well, no. Both of those are completely before that, so it could have been either one of them, I guess. One of the two, the IF amp or the RF amp was completely shot. All right. So that's that. So leave your comments below. Let me know what you think so far. We'll do another video. I've ordered caps and stuff, so we'll do another video where we recap it before I blow the thing up, running it on the old filter cap. So we'll do another video where we do that. If you've seen this video, that means I've already finished the other video, because I don't like uploading. If I've got videos in a string, you know, 3 or 4, I think this is the second one. If I've got a string of videos, I like finishing the whole thing before I upload it. So if I won't leave you hanging, right? So the other video is coming. But I'm going to do a video where we'll order in some caps, and we'll replace the caps. I think I want to replace them one by one just to see which ones seem to have the biggest effect. I would assume that the filter cap will, but we'll see. But I'd like to go through it one by one and do the best I can with it, and then turn it on after each cap and see what we got. So we'll do that in the next video. And then I got to align it, and I still got to mess with this freaking dial cord. So let me know what you think. This is an amateur repair time video, folks. So we're amateurs around here. We're not trying to say this is the way to do it. We don't know the way to do it. Completely amateur. So leave whatever comments you want down below. Make sure to give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it for you. And if you haven't already, check out my brother Donnie. My brother has his own channel here on YouTube. A guy asked me the other day, well, what's the name of his channel? My brother Donnie is the name of the channel. The link's down below. So I hope you enjoyed it. Check out his channel. I work on arcade games, pinball machines, jukeboxes, and amateur dabble and stuff like this, although I don't know what I'm doing. Donnie works on old vehicles, old buildings, things like that, and I'm over there with him on his channel a lot. So go check that out, and we will see you here in a couple days with a more traditional arcade game, pinball, or jukebox video. So we'll see you then. I hope you enjoyed it. We're just trying to have fun, folks.